Welcome to today's video, where we reveal the top 6 ultra-rare and most valuable pennies that could be hiding in your collection. We'll show you how to spot key features, identify rare mint errors, and understand why collectors pay thousands, or even more, for these elusive coins. Stay with us until the end to learn where to sell a valuable penny and share in the comments if you've ever come across one of these rare finds. Let's dive in. Number 1. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1960 could be worth thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars? That's right. Most people see pennies as pocket change, but hidden among them are rare and valuable treasures that collectors are willing to pay a fortune for. Some of these Lincoln pennies have reached astonishing prices at auction, and if you have the right one, you could be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. The early 1960s were a fascinating time for U.S. coinage. The transition from using high amounts of copper to exploring copper-nickel alloys was in discussion. While the penny remained primarily copper, the U.S. Mint experimented with minting techniques and changes in coin composition. These shifts led to the creation of rare varieties, minting errors, and unique die changes, making some of these 1960 pennies incredibly valuable today. The first thing to know about the 1960 Lincoln penny is that there are two major varieties, the small date and the large date. This difference is subtle but crucial. The small date variety has the numbers in 1960 appearing more compact and closer together, while the large date has more spacing and a slightly taller 6. The small date variety, especially in its rare double die form, is highly sought after and commands high prices among collectors. Errors are one of the biggest factors that make a 1960 penny valuable. One of the most famous errors is the double die variety, where the design was struck twice, creating a doubling effect on the numbers and letters. If you notice extra thickness or shadowing in the word Liberty, or the date, you might be holding a rare and valuable coin. Another error to look for is an off-center strike, where the design is misaligned, leaving a blank space on the coin. The greater the misalignment, the more valuable the penny can be. If you think you've found a valuable 1960 penny, the next step is checking its condition. Coins that have been in circulation for decades often show scratches, discoloration, and worn-down details. However, high-grade specimens with their original mint luster and sharp details are worth significantly more. Collectors prize pennies that still have a bright, red appearance, as they are closer to their original state when they left the mint. So, where should you sell a valuable 1960 Lincoln penny? The best places include major auction houses, certified coin dealers, and online platforms like Heritage Auctions or eBay. If you believe you have a rare error coin, it's a good idea to have it graded by PCGS or NGC, as certified coins often sell for higher prices. Local coin shows and numismatic forums are also great places to connect with collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for rare finds. Now, let's talk about the value of these rare 1960 pennies. Some have sold for $10,000, while others have reached $60,000 or even more, depending on rarity, condition, and market demand. And in certain cases, rare pennies with unique minting errors have even exceeded expectations at major auctions. Have you ever come across a 1960 penny that looked a little different? Maybe it had unusual markings, a strange shine, or an odd shape. Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe, because who knows, your next penny find might just change your life. Number 2. Have you ever picked up a penny and wondered if it might be worth more than just 1 cent? What if I told you that some 1966 Lincoln pennies have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars at auctions? That's right. While most pennies from this era seem ordinary, a few rare variations and mint errors have made some of them highly valuable. And some of these rare pennies have even reached prices that collectors could only dream of. The 1960s were a fascinating time for U.S. coinage. The country had just removed silver from dimes and quarters, and there were ongoing discussions about changing the composition of the penny from copper to a copper-nickel alloy. While that transition didn't happen until much later, this period saw several unique coin variations that are now considered rare collector's items. The U.S. Mint was also experimenting with different minting techniques, and some pennies struck in 1966 ended up with remarkable errors that can turn an ordinary penny into a fortune. One thing you'll notice about the 1966 Lincoln penny is that it has no mint mark. That's because, between 1965 and 1967, the U.S. Mint decided to stop placing mint marks on coins. The goal was to discourage hoarding and reduce collector influence on circulation coins. But despite the lack of a mint mark, certain 1966 pennies are incredibly rare and highly sought after. So, what exactly makes a 1966 penny valuable? First, let's talk about errors. One of the most famous and desirable errors is the double die variety. This happens when a coin is struck twice, creating a shadow-like effect on letters, numbers, or Lincoln's portrait. If you have a 1966 penny with noticeable doubling, especially in the words, Liberty, or In God We Trust, it could be worth a lot of money. Another valuable error is the off-center strike. If the design is misaligned, leaving part of the coin blank, it could be a rare find. The more off-center the strike, the higher the value. Another rare variation to look for is the transitional error. Some 1966 pennies may have been struck on experimental planchets, or planchets intended for another coin type. These transitional errors are extremely rare and, when verified by professional grading services, can sell for incredible amounts. Now, let's talk about condition. If you find a 1966 penny in your change, the first thing you should check is its overall condition. A penny that has been in circulation for decades will likely show scratches, fading, and discoloration. But if you find one with a bright red shine, sharp details, and minimal signs of wear, it could be a high-grade specimen. The better the condition, the more valuable the penny becomes. A well-preserved 1966 penny with a rare error can command premium prices. If you think you have a rare 1966 Lincoln penny, where should you sell it? The best places include major auction houses, coin dealers, and online marketplaces like eBay or Heritage Auctions. Getting your coin professionally graded by PCGS or NGC can significantly boost its value, as collectors are willing to pay more for authenticated coins. Local coin shows and numismatic expos are also great places to connect with serious buyers who are looking for rare finds. So, how much are these rare 1966 pennies worth? Some have sold for $3,570, while others have reached $45,000 or even more, depending on rarity, condition, and market demand. In fact, in high-profile auctions, certain pennies with unique minting errors have gone for prices that collectors never expected. Number 3. A simple penny from 1966. Just 1 cent, right? But what if I told you that some of these pennies are worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars? That's right. While most pennies from this era are worth just face value, a few rare ones have turned up in collections, auctions, and even everyday pocket change, selling for unbelievable amounts. So, what makes the 1966 Lincoln penny so special? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and how to spot one that could be worth a fortune. During the 1960s, the U.S. Mint was facing a coin shortage, leading to some major changes in production. One of the biggest discussions at the time was shifting from solid copper to a copper-nickel alloy, similar to what was already being used for nickels and dimes. While pennies remained copper during this period, this transition created variations and minting errors that are now highly sought after by collectors. The 1966 penny is part of this critical era, and certain rare variations have made their way into the hands of lucky collectors who cashed in. So, how do you know if your 1966 Lincoln penny is one of these rare treasures? The first thing to check is the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. That's right, 1966 was one of the years when the U.S. Mint stopped placing mint marks on coins to discourage hoarding. This means all 1966 pennies were struck at different mint facilities but do not carry a mint mark. While this might seem like a disadvantage, It actually makes identifying rare varieties even more interesting. One of the most valuable features to look for is doubling on the coin. A double die error occurs when the design is imprinted twice, creating a slightly overlapped or shadowed effect on the lettering, numbers, or even Lincoln's profile. If your penny has clear doubling, especially on the word Liberty or the date, you could be looking at a serious collector's item. Another rare feature is a misaligned die strike, where the design is slightly off-center, making it appear shifted. These types of mint errors can significantly increase a coin's value. Now, let's talk about condition. The difference between a penny worth a few cents and one worth thousands often comes down to wear and tear. Coins that have been in circulation for decades usually show signs of damage, scratches, discoloration, and worn-down details. However, if you come across a 1966 penny with a bright red shine, sharp details, and minimal wear, it could be a high-grade specimen worth far more than you'd expect. Proof-like coins and those struck with strong, clean dies are always more desirable to collectors. So, where can you find a rare 1966 Lincoln penny? They can still turn up in everyday change, in old rolls of pennies, or hidden in collections passed down over the years. If you think you found one, how can you be sure it's valuable? The best way is to have it professionally graded by coin certification services like PCGS or NGC. A graded coin not only verifies its authenticity but also dramatically increases its market value when selling. Speaking of selling, if you have a valuable 1966 penny, where should you take it? Major auction houses, reputable coin dealers, and online marketplaces are all great options. Coin shows and numismatic conventions are also excellent places to connect with serious collectors who are willing to pay premium prices for rare coins. Now, let's talk about what these rare pennies have sold for. Some of the most valuable 1966 Lincoln pennies have fetched $3,500 and $45,000, and even more at auction. The right combination of rarity, condition, and demand can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. Number 4. Have you ever looked at a simple penny and wondered if it could be worth more than just 1 cent? Well, what if I told you that a rare 1971 Lincoln penny has sold for thousands of dollars? That's right. While most pennies from this era are common, a few have extraordinary value due to rare errors, unique characteristics, and high-grade conditions. Some of these 1971 pennies have stunned collectors by reaching incredible prices at auctions, so don't overlook the change in your pocket. The early 1970s were a time of change for U.S. coinage. There were ongoing discussions about shifting from copper to a copper-nickel alloy to combat rising metal costs, just as the U.S. Mint had done with nickels, dimes, and quarters in previous years. While the Lincoln penny remained 95% copper for another decade, this era still produced some fascinating varieties and mint errors that are now highly valuable to collectors. One of the key features to look for in the 1971 Lincoln penny is the mint mark. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where these coins were produced. While millions of these pennies were struck, only a few possessed the rare qualities that make them extremely valuable. One of the most well-known and desirable errors is the double die variety. If you notice doubling in the letters of Liberty, in God We Trust, or the date itself, you might be looking at a rare and highly collectible coin. Another key error to watch for is an off-center strike. If the design appears shifted or part of the coin is blank, this is a rare mistake that increases the value. Additionally, some 1971 pennies were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were minted on a metal blank intended for another type of coin. These rare transitional errors are incredibly valuable when discovered. Condition plays a huge role in determining a penny's value. Coins that have been in circulation for decades often show scratches, fading, and overall wear. However, if you find a 1971 penny with its original red luster and sharp details, you could have a highly valuable piece. Collectors prize uncirculated specimens, and a perfectly preserved 1971 penny with a rare error can fetch astonishing prices. If you think you've found a rare 1971 Lincoln penny, the next step is knowing where to sell it. Major coin auctions, online marketplaces like eBay or heritage auctions, and certified dealers are the best places to get the highest value. It's always a good idea to have your coin graded by PCGS or NGC, as professional grading significantly increases collector interest and potential price. Now, let's talk about just how valuable these pennies can be. Some rare 1971D Lincoln pennies have sold for $6,400, while others with unique minting errors have reached $38,000 or even more. And in some cases, rare pennies with extreme rarity and top condition have gone for unbelievable amounts at major auctions. Number 5. Most people wouldn't think twice about a 1961D Lincoln penny. It's just a common coin, right? Well, what if I told you that some of these pennies are worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars? That's right. Hidden among ordinary pocket change are rare and valuable pennies that collectors are willing to pay huge amounts for. If you've ever come across a 1961D penny, don't spend it just yet. You might have a hidden treasure in your hands. The early 1960s were a turning point for U.S. coinage. While the Lincoln penny was still being struck in 95% copper, there were ongoing discussions about transitioning to a copper-nickel alloy to reduce costs. These experiments led to rare varieties and minting errors that make certain 1961D pennies incredibly valuable today. Even small differences in the way a coin was struck can make a huge impact on its worth. One of the first things to check on a 1961D penny is its mint mark. The D stands for the Denver Mint, which produced billions of pennies that year. But not all of them are created equal. Some of the most valuable 1961D pennies feature a double die error, where the design elements appear duplicated due to a misalignment during minting. This doubling can be seen in the words, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the date. If you notice this doubling effect on your penny, you could be looking at a rare and highly valuable coin. Other key errors to look for include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted and leaves part of the coin blank. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the penny becomes. Another rare and sought-after variety is the repunched mint mark (RPM), where the D mint mark was accidentally stamped more than once. These small details can mean the difference between a common penny and a highly valuable collector's item. If you think you've found a rare 1961D penny, the next step is checking its condition. Coins that have been in circulation for decades often show scratches, discoloration, and wear. However, high-grade specimens that still have their original red luster and sharp details are worth significantly more. Collectors specifically look for pennies in mint state condition, as they are the closest to their original form when they left the mint. Now, where can you sell a valuable 1961D penny? The best places include major auction houses, certified coin dealers, and online platforms like heritage auctions or eBay. It's always a good idea to have your coin graded by PCGS or NGC, as certified coins often sell for much higher prices. Local coin shows and numismatic forums are also great places to connect with serious collectors who are willing to pay top dollar. And now, let's talk about the big question. How much are these rare 1961D pennies worth? Some have sold for $5,000, while others have reached $57,000 or even more, depending on rarity, condition, and demand. And in some cases, extremely rare pennies with unique errors have shocked collectors by selling for even higher amounts at major auctions. Number 6. Imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket and later discovering it could be worth thousands. That's the reality for some lucky collectors who come across the rarest and most valuable Lincoln pennies. Today, we're diving into one of the most sought after, the 1968 Lincoln cent. What makes this coin special? How can you tell if you have one? And most importantly, how much could it be worth? Stay with me, because you won't want to miss this. By the late 1960s, changes were happening in U.S. coin production. The government had already removed silver from dimes and quarters, and there was ongoing discussion about switching pennies from copper to a copper-nickel composition. Though the transition didn't officially happen until 1982, experimental changes and minting errors during this period led to some rare and valuable varieties. The 1968 penny, in particular, holds some fascinating secrets. One of the first things collectors look for in a 1968 penny is the mint mark. This year, Lincoln cents were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. While most are common, certain varieties, like double die errors and mint mark anomalies, can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. If you have a 1968 penny, pay close attention to its details. A double die variety can be identified by slightly overlapping or shadowed letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. This effect happens when the design is accidentally imprinted twice onto the coin's die, leading to visible duplication. These are highly sought after by collectors and can dramatically increase the value of your penny. Another key error to look for is an off-center strike. If the design is noticeably shifted, leaving part of the coin blank, it can make the penny significantly rarer. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin. Additionally, some 1968 pennies feature a missing or faint mint mark, which could indicate a rare minting variation. Condition plays a major role in determining the value of a rare 1968 penny. The best coins are those that have remained in pristine condition, free from scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear. Collectors specifically look for red Lincoln cents, meaning coins that still have their original copper luster. The higher the grade, the higher the value. So, if you think you've found a rare 1968 penny, where should you sell it? Major auction houses, coin dealers, and online platforms like Heritage Auctions or eBay are great places to find buyers. Getting your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC can also significantly increase its market value. And now, let's talk about the real excitement. How much is a rare 1968 penny worth? Some have sold for $3,800, while others have reached $48,000 or more, depending on rarity, condition, and demand. And in some rare cases, extraordinary minting errors have pushed pennies to even greater heights at major auctions. Have you ever found an unusual penny in your collection? Maybe one with a strange design, a missing mint mark, or a bright red shine? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because your next big treasure might be hiding in plain sight.